Happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, December 13th, 347th day of the year. Believe it or not, there are only 18 days left in the year 2022. Wow, 18 days. Well, I hope it's been a good year for you and your loved ones. I hope you made some strides in life. I want to give a shout out to the University of Montevallo, where I got my master's degree. We had a meeting there last week with the Dean of Fine Arts, Steve Peters, and Dr. Ford and Dr. Cofield. It was a good meeting. They were helping us out on a project. They've asked me to come back and speak to the students, and I'll be glad to. I enjoyed the University of Montevallo. It was a great experience for me, and I look forward to further visits to the university. I want to give a big shout out to Barbara Wallace Edwards, Emily Hedrick, Joyce Gilly Gossam, Marianne Merritt Melton, and Eleanor Pitts for the show that they did last week on Title IX. People certainly appreciated it. I appreciated it, and I hope they had fun. Well, I know they had fun. We made it to the Christmas holidays, and in large part without the fear of the pandemic. Some, including myself, will still wear a mask when, if the occasion calls for it. From what I've seen in Target department store, I wouldn't be in there rubbing shoulders with hundreds of shoppers without a mask. That's just my opinion. Still, it feels good to be free of the constraint. I get that. I got my first shingle shot last week. No reaction really, other than my arm is still sore 4 or 5 days later. Matter of fact, I haven't, knock on wood, had any reaction to any of the pandemic shots. Thank God, but I urge all to be careful. I want to give a shout out to Sam Johnson. Sam Johnson and his class of honor students at Auburn University. The class is called Be the Best You, and they explore what that means and how to go about it at such a young age. They invite me to speak every year to a different group, and I enjoy the young minds. It's an honor. It's a pleasure. And another shout out goes to Michael O'Neill, my acting partner, and Walt Woltos, who's our producer for Alabama Boys, who both accompanied me to the class. We had a great time with the students. Walt and Michael shared their wisdom with the students, and the students really enjoyed it. So I want to thank those guys and tell them I enjoyed it. And thank Sam for inviting us. Sam, I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a great Christmas, Christmas season. Enjoy, catch up with old friends, family, laughter, gifts, and hopefully a lot of relaxation. That's my plan anyway. Our final show of the year will be next week, December 20th. Of course, Santa will be here, Nathaniel Rutledge. We will take Tuesday, December 27th off, the week between Christmas and New Year's, and we will return with you on January the 3rd. Enjoy the season. So our G-List guest today is the In the Heat of the Night group. Some of those members are here with us today. Antley Staten and Anthony Tedeschi. And Vernell Razor could not make it. We're sorry, Vernell. I hope you're getting a watch, but she had has a migraine. And those of you who've had migraines before know how painful and how debilitating that can be until you get over it. So, Vernell, we wish you well, but we look forward to talking to Antley and Anthony. So this edition of Tuesday with Thom, of course, is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl Consulting Firm. Best Girl has been providing customized solutions to executive issues for 34 years. So let's hear it for Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girls customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
It's the solution that fits your needs. I want to say thank you to the Best Girl team, Joyce, Emily, Sean, Michael, and Barbara. We've had a great year, done some amazing things, had some interesting guests, and look forward to next year. And I just want to thank the team for the year that you guys have put together. Okay, so let's get to our round table. Our regulars, Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker, are here with us today. Barbara is back from hosting the show. She said she found out that hosting thing isn't as easy as it looks. So, but we'll let Barbara tell you about it. Good morning, Barbara. How are you?
Good morning, Thom. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. It was good to have a week off and to watch somebody else do it.
But you can't take another week off. That was work. That was a lot of work.
Yeah, it's
fun. I enjoyed the experience, but I've had that experience now. So that is your seat forever, sir.
All right, well, we'll see. Well, let's get Michael on here, and we'll have a three-way conversation here.
Okay,
Michael, how are you this morning?
Good morning, TG. I'm doing well. Good morning, Barbara, the hostess with the mostest. How are you?
Doing well, Michael.
So, Michael, what were you doing last week while they were doing the show?
I was here watching them. I was checking it out.
I said I kept waiting for some comments to pop up from either one of you guys, and I never did see anything. It was like, what are they doing? Where are they? Did they really just take the day off?
Well, I was having trouble staying on. I'd come on and it'd kick me out. It'd kick me out over and over. So that was my thing.
We want to apologize to our viewers because there was some technical difficulty last week, but it was all a Facebook issue. It wasn't anything that Sean or anyone in here with Best Girl was doing wrong, or the TWT team. It was a Facebook issue. So we do apologize to our viewers. Several of them sent me messages afterwards saying, hey, I got kicked out. What did I do wrong? They didn't do anything wrong either. It was a system issue.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
In spite of it all, you did a great job. I was there, but I had been told this was a Title IX show for women only. So I took the bench, I sat on the end of the bench on the hardwood watching.
Yeah, you were there and available if they needed you.
That's right. That's right. Hey, Thom, as you and Smitty say, the secret weapon was sitting on the bench. Just wait.
The secret weapon was sitting on the bench.
A couple of times I was ready to tag you guys in, and I didn't see you anywhere. I was looking for you on the sideline.
We'll have to get the secret weapon on the show at some point. So,
yes.
Our good friend Robert Smith, we were on a basketball team. I think back in the Bell South days or what have you. And we joined this team because they weren't the best player was a girl. And and she was good, but she couldn't win by herself. And so they invited me and Smitty to join the team and the coach. But the coach wouldn't put us in the game. And we were losing pretty badly. So Smitty tells the coach, you got the secret weapon sitting on the bench. So he said, what? He said, the secret weapon, me and Thom, you got us sitting on the bench. So he put us in and we ended up winning the game. So it was fun.
Oh, wow.
So question for you guys, comments from you guys. Brittany Griner been released. Comments, discussion.
Well, first of all, I'll say I'm happy that she's been released. To be honest with you, it was not a offense that should have resulted in what she went through.
Right.
If anything, I think it was probably a little bit of an oversight and some naivety, being naive in being over there and not being abreast of the laws in Russia. And we all know she was a political pawn.
Absolutely.
The issue I have about it is that, and I wasn't a part of the conversations, negotiations, but from the outside looking in, it just was not an equal swap when you're going to release the merchant of death for an innocent young lady that's playing basketball. But that just shows you who we're dealing with Putin.
Yeah.
And, so we, and Biden, I guess their hands were tied. I know they tried to get Paul Whelan out, but they went ahead and took what they could get, and they got Brittany home. But in doing so, we released somebody who had been, selling weapons to kill Americans. And so now he's put back out, and I've seen where he said he supports the war in Ukraine and the invasion, and he wants to go help.
Wow. Yeah, I agree with Michael in the fact that Brittany should have never, ever been incarcerated. It was definitely a political move. And people are complaining that, the U.S. didn't get much in that deal. Well, it was that or nothing. So even though they tried to negotiate for more, we wouldn't even have Brittany home if the U.S. had not agreed to that total deal. So it is what it is. We hate that the situation happened. Again, she should have never been incarcerated from the very beginning. And I'm glad that she's home.
Well, I think Mr. Whelan's family has handled it with dignity and grace.
Yes.
You never know what's going on in a negotiation.
Right.
You push for whatever you can, the most you can get. But at some point you realize this is the best we're going to be able to do.
Right.
And I saw Boomer Esiason on NFL Sunday, and he was so critical of administration and the deal. And I'm sitting there thinking, you ain't got a clue what went on, man.
Absolutely not. Right.
So, chill out.
Right.
Okay, Barbara, what you got anything for us this morning?
Well, Tom, I want to send prayers out to Mike Leach and his family, the head football coach at Mississippi State. I understand he suffered a heart attack at home on Sunday evening and went without medical attention for 10 to 15 minutes. And when the emergency medical staff arrived, they tried to resuscitate him and use a defibrillator, but they took him to the county hospital. They wasn't able to do much for him. He was transported by ambulance to the medical center in Jackson, Mississippi, and he's in critical condition right now, as the last that I heard. So his family's there with him. It's definitely a sad situation, and my prayers are with the family and the Mississippi State family as well.
Well, I think all of our prayers we would join you in that prayer, and it's tough, especially as you go into the holiday season.
Absolutely.
Michael?
Yes, sir, Tom. You asked me before the runoff who I thought would win, and I said I would not be surprised if Warnock did not win. That is the case, and the fallout continues from the Republican side. And there's a lot of finger pointing going on. Many in the party that are blaming Trump and saying Trump is the reason Georgia lost 2 Senate seats with the fiasco and election deniers from 2 years ago, and that it was Trump who endorsed Herschel Walker and urged him to run. And he's at fault for this. People like Laura Ingraham and some of the talking heads, they're blaming everybody else except for Trump. They're blaming Republicans like Mitch McConnell and others for not doing enough for Herschel Walker. And it seems like everybody's blaming everybody except for the candidate himself. Mm-hmm. I found it interesting that the senator from Florida, Rick Scott, came out and said Herschel Walker will be a leader in the Republican Party for years to come. I didn't
said that before or after the election?
He said that after.
Wow.
Did he really?
Yes, he did.
Wow.
And I I actually read it 2 times to make sure I understood what he said.
I bet you did.
And I don't understand why he said it, how he said it, or what have you, but that's what he said. There are some other things coming from inside of the campaign, and some of the stuff I've shared with you guys, but there are some people that are blaming Walker himself and his wife, saying that they refuse to allow seasoned veterans of political campaigns to do their jobs. One that was really interesting was that his wife, his current wife, Blanchard Walker, that they were enamored with a dog. And I know that sounds crazy, but Warnock had a couple of commercials where he was walking with beagle puppies, and they started making an issue of the fact that those were not his dogs and they were in a commercial, which tells you a little bit about their inexperience, not knowing the difference between a prop that's used in a commercial versus a prop that's used in a debate.
Right.
So I guess from that standpoint, it was okay for Herschel to use a fake badge in a debate, but it wasn't okay for Warnock to borrow somebody's puppies in a commercial. That tells you some of the stuff that was going on. Also, what I found to be particularly odd was that Walker's wife, Blanchard, and I guess for a certain extent, Walker himself, they believed that Herschel should have gotten 50% of the African-American vote in Georgia.
Oh my God. Okay.
His wife said that, and they felt that because of Herschel's exploits or his heroism on the football field would be enough to overcome any shortcomings. That, again, tells you how inexperienced they are, because data shows that Republicans only garner anywhere from 10 to 15% of the black vote.
Right.
Kemp probably exceeded those expectations, but normally any Republican, regardless of who you are, you're only going to get 10 to 15% of the black vote here in Georgia, and they was expecting 50%. But the thing that I found most telling, and this is something that I knew early on, they hired a law firm to do research. And whenever candidates are running, there's opposition research that's done on them to see what their weak points are and what's vulnerable. From what I understand, this law firm gathered 500 pages of negative information on Herschel that would be used by opposition research in a matter of 2 days.
Wow.
And they sat down with Walker himself and his top advisor, his wife, and told him this. They chose to ignore it and wanted to move forward anyway with the urging of Trump. So that tells you this was doomed from the beginning. And Tom, I told you some of my experience and why I thought it was going to be doomed anyway. But needless to say, Herschel did lose, I guess, by 3 points. And there are a lot of Republicans now are saying any other Republican besides Herschel would have won if he, with all this baggage, came that close.
I thought it was, to be honest, looking at it from the outside, I thought it was almost an insult to put Herschel Walker up. I mean, you put Herschel Walker up because he's black,
right?
And he's running against a black man.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't matter that he wasn't qualified. I guess, but I guess they'd gotten away with that with Tuberville,
right?
Putting somebody up who isn't qualified, and he beat a good candidate. Tuberville did.
Yes,
but Alabama is different from Georgia, and in a lot of ways,
right?
It's still the South, but because of Atlanta and the changes that have occurred in the metropolitan areas of Georgia, those same changes have not occurred in the metropolitan areas of Alabama.
Right.
It was going to be uphill all along. And if they were going to, it was kind of like, go find a black guy, we'll run him against this other black guy.
Yes. And I think that was their whole idea from the very beginning. Let's just find
Yeah.
a black guy that has some notoriety here in the state of Georgia, and that's who we'll run against or not.
And I said this to you, Michael. I think near the end, Herschel was ready for it to be over. It was much more intense, much more. There was much more dirt being slung than he could have imagined. You know, if you look at it, Herschel was a celebrity. Herschel was somebody that could get by with things. You know, he having been there, I'll just say when I was a football player at the university, our schedules were filled out for us. Right. You know, we didn't have to stand in line at the registrar's office. We just walked to the front of the line and handed them our stuff. Right. Well, if I could do that on my level, imagine what Herschel was doing on his level, a Heisman Trophy winner and so on and so forth. And they just thought it would translate into politics.
Yeah. But, you know, you talk about all the mudslinging, Thom. He created most of the issues. You know, when he get up there at the podium and start talking about comparing what is better to be what is it, a werewolf or a daredevil?
A werewolf or a vampire?
A vampire. I'm like, what is he talking about? And then he got on this issue about pronouns and what is a pronoun and I just hate the use of pronoun. I'm like, what is this man talking about? So you know, he was the one that they didn't have to go dig up any dirt on him. He was standing at the podium giving it to them.
Well, his son wasn't helping him at all.
Not at all. And, Still not.
Somebody, one guy blamed his son for Herschel's loss.
God.
Because of the tweets and things that he said. You know, I will say this. What that opposition research was for was to sit down and have a serious, upfront discussion, a candid discussion to say, this is what's going to come up. Now, how are we going to combat this? How will we overcome this? How will we deal with it? That wasn't what the Walkers did. They decided to ignore it.
Right.
Even to the point, and Thom, you brought this up before, about him getting homestead exemption in Texas and Georgia at the same time.
Yeah.
I understand that when that story broke, his wife just wanted to fight it. And instead of dealing with it up front. And I think one of the things that perhaps Herschel did not understand, and this goes back to what you're saying with somebody that's being codified and cuddled throughout because they played sports or did something on the stage, is that when you come out and you blast African-American fathers for being absentee fathers, and then you turn around and you have 3 or 4 children that are considered what they used to call illegitimate kids born outside the wedlock and what have you. Well, where were you? Right. And what did you do? And he kept denying that was the issue until the Daily Beast broke that story. Whereas if he could have come out and said, look, the reason I'm so against absentee fathers is because I was one myself.
Right.
And I understand the damage and hurt I caused my kids and my family. And I don't want to see other people make the same mistakes. That's how you confront that. You get out in front of it, you know, even to the abortion thing. I'm against it because I myself fell victim to that. And I've been involved in that. And I realized I was wrong. You know, America has a way, they love a redemption story.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to see people have a comeback. But you have to show some humility and be honest and say, hey, I made a mistake and I learned from it.
But in Herschel's defense, you know, he has all these multiple personalities. He was thinking that was one of the other personalities that had those issues, not him, not Herschel. Well, he referred to himself a lot of times as, you know, Herschel, like in the third person. I was like, what? I mean, again, who does that? And I don't think he thought those things touched him. It was somebody else, one of his personalities.
I think that's it. He didn't think those things touched him because they never had before.
Right.
He was Herschel Walker, the Heisman Trophy winner in Georgia. And Georgia people, and Michael will testify to this because he was at that first meeting with them, that one of the meetings that they had, he thought he couldn't do any wrong.
Right.
That it was going to be okay. And so the blame goes to the people who decided to put him up there.
Right.
Trump could have recommended him, but you didn't have to do it because you're afraid of Trump. And the other thing I saw I was on Fox News, which I very rarely go to, and I heard them talking. They use a lot of we and us in their newscasts. Mm-hmm. We, this, and talk about we being with the Republican Party and us and so on and so forth. And I thought, what kind of news is this, man?
Right.
You don't we and us the news.
Exactly.
So anyway, and we talk about the division in the country. So that's one of the reasons that there's a lot of division. And hopefully Warnock could be a good senator. But if I'm Herschel, I look at Tommy Tuberville and I say, well, hell, they voted for him. Why would they not vote for me? And now Tuberville, they said, was in this meeting before the January 6th insurrection where supposedly everything was being planned. He was in that meeting. He's had, he had issues. He had some financial issues before he got elected. I don't blame Herschel. If they're going to choose this football coach, why would they not choose somebody who actually played?
Well, I get that, but that just shows you that he was in fantasy land. And a couple points, and I understand what you're saying about Tommy Tuberville, because you're talking about a man that did not even understand the Voting Rights Act, did not know what it was.
Right.
You're also talking about a man that didn't know the three branches of government. He did not know that there was a executive branch, a judicial branch, and a legislative branch. But yet still he is a U.S. senator because he was a football coach at Auburn. Mm-hmm. What I'd like to say on a positive note about this election is that it shows, and I know there's a long way to go, but it shows how far we've come, where here in Georgia, for one of the highest elected positions in the country, U.S. Senator, we had two Black men running for that seat.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that gets lost.
I agree.
In this narrative.
Yes.
Because there was one that really should not have been there.
Right.
From the get-go. But you cannot overlook that we've come, and this is part of the Voting Rights Act bill. What Congressman John Lewis got his head bashed in for was the right to vote. Mm-hmm. We had two Black men running for U.S. Senator from the state of Georgia. And that's a good note.
That is a good note.
Good note. Let me read some of the comments before we move on. Lucy Sellers says that she's praying for Coach Leach and his family at Leach at Mississippi State. Angela Gibbs says celebrities are not necessarily good leaders, though they get a lot of attention. Angela Gibbs says many are not comfortable with a woman like Stacey Abrams leading the state. Angela Gibbs says again, Black versus Black, just because they can't tell us apart. Somebody threw OJ's name in here. Lucy Yarborough Seller, I live in Georgia. God put Reverend Warnock where he wanted, and Reverend Warnock gave God the glory. So a lot of people commented on that. It was a huge night. I can tell you, I sat there and watched it to see the returns, to see how it was going to turn out. And Herschel will go down in history as the Heisman Trophy winner who ran for the Senate and he lost. And all that other stuff will be lost. So we need to move on. Let's go to Got a Minute. Sean, you got a minute for us, please.
Good morning. My name is Shantia Jones, and this is Got a Minute. Hello to everyone joining in with us this morning. I hope you all are well and remaining safe. I finally got the cool weather I've been asking for, and I'm sure it's thanks to all of you. Now, today's Got a Minute comes from my son, Kai, who loves all things astronomy. And did you know that on this day in 1934, Nova Hercules, one of the biggest novas of the 20th century, was discovered by the British amateur astronomer J.P.M. Prentice in the northern constellation Hercules. It reached an apparent visible magnitude of about 1.4 and remained visible to the unaided eye for months. At its center was found an eclipsing binary pair of small stars revolving around each other with a period of 4 hours and 39 minutes. One component is a rapidly shining white dwarf star accreting material from its champion. Now, that is what I call solar power. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Shantia Jones, and this has Got a Minute.
Thank you, Shantia, and thank Kai for that, her son. Okay, well, let's go to the G list. Hollywood has the A list, and here on Tuesdays with Thom, of course, we have the G list. And our G list guest today is a crew from the fan club of In the Heat of the Night. Antley Staten and Anthony Tedeschi are with us. Vernell Razor couldn't be with us because of that aforementioned migraine. So, good morning, guys.
Good morning. How you doing, Thom?
I'm
Barbara
doing
and Michael?
well.
Good morning,
Doing
Anthony.
Good
well.
morning, Anthony.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good
Tuesday with
morning.
Thom
Right.
family.
Good morning,
Good
Anthony.
morning, Antley.
So, how you guys doing this morning?
Doing well.
Okay, cannot complain.
So, what's the latest in the Heat of the Night family?
Well, we got almost 9,000 members in the group right now.
Wow.
That's great.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I've told people, and I'll say this, when I came over for that reunion, I was taken aback just with the commitment and dedication that you guys have to being a member of to honoring that television show. And as I've told you guys before, it was my first real television experience, and it was great, and I'm grateful for it, because here we are now all these many years later, and we're still talking about it, and it's still on television, baby.
Yes.
Yes, it is. Yes, on several channels, and trust me,
During
we
the day.
watch it. We watch it every single day, the same episode, and always found out something new about it
Wow.
4 or 5
every time.
So what drew you guys to this show out of all the shows on television?
Was the family oriented, that how Carol O'Connor set up the Heat of the Night, and how he used real storylines within the show. When Antley and I and Jason was down in March of this year for Antley's birthday, we were at the Townhouse Cafe, which was used in the show, and we were looking through the menu, and something caught my eye on the menu on the back. The owner who founded the Townhouse Cafe, Miss Ruda, the name came from one of the show where Ruler Gibson came in, where they blew up the church and stuff. And so how Carol linked local people, local names into the Heat of the Night show. And Jason and even Antley we were more surprised to recognize that name that was on that menu in that Townhouse Cafe, how it was linked to an episode in the show.
Yeah.
And like Anthony said, we always learn something new on every time we watch an episode.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Okay. That's interesting. I'm glad I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know that the Bottoms was really the Bottoms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting. So now, did you guys follow this show when it aired live?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
I was in high school when it first aired, so I'm catching the reruns now.
Okay. And so you got drawn to the reruns.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
So you guys go there every year. Antley, I think you go for your birthday to Covington.
That's one
Tell
of the
us
times.
about this town,
Yeah.
because this town has been transformed. They have an identity now that most
Yes.
towns don't. So can you talk about that?
The town itself is like, if you are a true Heat of the Night fan, when you go to the town, you're not going to see it as Covington, Georgia. You're going to see it as Sparta, Mississippi. When you hit that square, you don't think you're in Georgia. You're in Sparta. I'm waiting on you to come down there where Harriet is on the bench, right in front of the statue. I'm looking for Carol to come with Parker walking through the square. I want to go to your office, but you really think you're in Sparta. You're not going to be in Georgia. They're not werewolves down there, but that's another conversation we can let alone. I'm gonna keep it 100, but if you are a true fan of the show, then you're gonna feel like right at home, and the people itself, they're in that town.
So
So
do something. So tell us, the police station is actually the library, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And
I found it out the hard way.
like that in the community.
Yeah, a lot of when you go to Main Street or the square, a lot of the buildings that are there now were there back then. And they would go in there and tell you, yeah, I can remember Carol O'Connor walking in this shop right here. Harry's studio, remember the painting studio, Anthony? We walked in there, and then people like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, this was using it in the heat of the night. Really? We had to pull up on the phone and show them, like, oh yeah, I didn't even know they filmed that show here. A lot of people don't even know the history of the town. All they know is like Vampire Diaries, or what's the other show they use down there?
Duke of Hazzard.
Yeah, exactly. They don't even know that Medea was in that, use the town. So, I was actually to move down there, and I'm gonna run for mayor for Covington. I'm gonna put Covington on the map. I'm gonna win. I'm gonna move to Georgia. Michael, you can vote for me, Michael. and I don't have nothing to cut. I'm not a werewolf. I can talk. I think I will win. Give me 1 year. Give me 1 year.
Well, as long as you don't make Herschel Walker your campaign advisor, I make.
Oh no. It's a lawyer. It's a lawyer down there by the name of Ted Marcus. I think he would make me a good campaign man. I think I'm gonna use him. He got a pretty good rep, except in court.
I've got a. Let me let Barbara and Michael ask some questions.
Well, good morning, guys.
Good morning, Barbara.
I want to ask you all, when did the official Heat of the Night fan club start? Who started it, and how did it get started, and when did it start?
I started it.
Okay.
And it was maybe almost 10 years now.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, over that time, Thom joined the club, and we have several other cast members, Barbara Lee, Harvey Lee, Sheriff McComb.
Right.
He was a member of the show, and he was also our administrator of the group. And we even have Nurse Tracy, who was one of Bubba's girlfriends at the time.
Right.
We have like I said, we have almost 9,000 members of the group.
Wow.
And of course, it was Sheriff McCone, who I talked with a number of times, and then with Antley calling me up a couple of years ago to say, "Oh, you got to come down to Covington," and then I surprised Antley on his birthday, and I flew into Covington for his birthday and met a few other people there from the group.
Wow.
And then they surprised me with meeting D. Shaw, who played Sergeant D on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was down there this past October with Jason and my wife, we had lunch with D. She always meets with us every time we come down.
Wow, that's great. And you guys go down there, is it 3 times a year, 4 times a year?
Yeah, about 3-4 times a year.
Okay.
So we're usually down there for Anthony's birthday, but we're postponing it this year because of his upcoming wedding.
Right.
But then we're usually down there in July for the 4th of July.
Yes.
For the festivities and the fireworks and stuff. So, and then we're usually down there maybe just before Christmas for the celebrations down there as well.
Wonderful. Wow,
Michael?
that's great.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, first of all, Barbara asked a question I wondered, and I finally met the person who started the Heat of the Night fan club. I did not know that was you, Anthony. So
Yeah.
but let me ask you something. Having 9,000 members, how do you keep them engaged? And do you have different types of activities throughout the year to engage everyone? And the reason why I asked that question, I have a very good friend that's in a book club, and they meet, every month they have a new book to read, and then they meet over at somebody's house and they have dinner. So I'm wondering, what other type of activities do you guys have, or are there any? How do you keep those 9,000 members engaged, and what are your plans in the future?
Well, we usually do like we do a poll. Who since there was like only 2 Christmas episodes that were filmed for the Heat of the Night, we do a poll. Which one was your favorite? And they vote on which one was their favorite. Then we have other types of discussions where a picture was posted of Parker Williams with his radar gun, Parker's perch, stopping Harriet, and she was going off, and she just left and stopping Sheriff McCone. Well, Parker, I'm here to see your boss. And that keeps people engaged with the show and stuff. And we used to have watch parties from time to time, but Facebook, for whatever reason, eliminated that portion on that. We can't do that particular watch parties anymore.
Wow. Okay.
It's like you could watch the show, one particular episode, and people start chatting. Hey, did you see Ted Marcus when he was trying to get Virgil to run for the chief of police? He had his glasses on, and then later on in the seat, later on in another episode, what happened to Ted Marcus' glasses? Did he get a haircut? It's just a little thing that the real true fans pick out, and it had me wondering, like, you're right. Ted Marcus in the early episode had glasses on and a big afro. Later on, no glasses. Low haircut, it's a small thing that we pick out. We nitpick and find out.
You guys.
Okay.
So, there was the first show I appeared in was a 2-hour movie. And I don't remember the name of that episode. But I was a city councilman. What was my name?
You ask this every time. What's it? Something Lemon.
Melvin Lemon.
Melvin Lemon. That's what it was. Melvin Lemon. You got me, Melvin Lemon. I'm still trying to find that episode.
It's actually a 2-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
That was the only episode I did that year. So the next year they put out the call for the city councilman, and
Mm-hmm.
my agent called me and told me that they were having auditions for the city council, and I said, "Well, hell, that was a job I did last year." And he said, "Yeah." So tell them. I said, "Yeah, right." And we'll go down there and tell Carol O'Connor. So I walked in the little trailer where they were in there. Carol and Ed Letting were in there, and I walked in, and Carol looked at me and he said, "You played the city councilman last year." And I said, "Yeah, I did. So why are you trying to give my job to somebody else?" And he said, "I won't give your job to somebody else. It's your job." And so I did that Ted Marcus thing for the next, I think I did it for 4 or 5 years as a recurring guy. So,
Wow.
And did it very well.
well,
Did
I
it very
enjoyed
well.
it. It was a lot of fun. It was great.
Tom, we have a comment in the comment section from Dolores Watts. She says she likes when Virgil called you Tom. And
He did.
they refer to you as Ted.
It was a dinner at their house, and we were all getting food, and Howard was he handed me a plate, and he said, "Here you go, Tom." And nobody caught it, and it made it into the show.
Only true fans catch that when it happens every time.
Tom was close to Ted, so
yes.
But they kept it. They kept it, and it worked out great.
Yeah, they did. They did.
But I got a question for each of you, and I'll give you a minute to think about it.
Okay.
But what it is about is, like, back in the day, one of Tom's and my favorite show was Dallas. We loved JR and the Ewing clan, and then you remember Dynasty, but now they have the next generation. They even have the next generation of Bonanza with the Cartwrights now. So you two are producers and directors. What would the next generation of In the Heat of the Night be? And what would be the type of theme, or what would you guys do if you did a next generation In the Heat of the Night?
Oh, man. Oh, you got me stumped now. Well, we'll definitely have to go back to Covington, Georgia. The fair. We will definitely have to go back to Covington. Thank God my cousin still stays down there, so I ain't got to pay for the hotel room. Oh, man. Mike, you got me, Mike.
Well, come on now, you're a true In the Heat of the Night fan.
Right, but I mean that's a lot of planning, but we'll definitely have to go back to Covington. And with the 9,000 fans that we have, oh man, it won't be no problem to find some people to play the people. Now, Ted, you would still have to come back and do your part.
I'd have to be a grandpa now.
Well, you can, but you could be training your son. You can bring your son down there. Ted Marcus law firm. Junior. There you go. See, we work. See, Michael is working already. Mike.
Alan would probably be the sheriff.
Yeah, he can have his son come back and be on the police force. So Anthony, he brought a good question.
Yeah, probably Lonnie Jameson, Carol's son, will probably get his son to come in on the police force, maybe as lieutenant.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we could probably get a few others. Luann, we could probably get her on the city council. And then we could probably get Bubba as the mayor of Covington, and then a few juniors on for the police station, and then a few other people to come in to fill in as city council. And of course, Denise would still be in her art studio painting away, and we still have a few regular cast members doing a few guest appearances on the show as well.
There you go.
Betty would like to know, can you get Harriet back?
Harriet costs money. Harry costs money. We've had, when some of the cast members come back, they go over their roles and they be like, they'd be shocked that we remember the show. Like when I first met Ted, when he walked up to me, I did not recognize him. I don't know if you remember that. I had to go back and help you carry your books in the office. Cause it's been like 30 years. And I'm like, when you see them, they still look the same. And, you just keep reminding them of the show and their lines, of course.
Right.
And they be like, you really watch the show that much?
You did. You were that whole night. You never called me Thom. It was always Ted. and then you start telling me my lines.
Question is, could you remember them though? I
don't. Michael, I got one for you. You mentioned Dallas earlier. When I watched Yellowstone the other night, and it's almost a Dallas do-over. I mean, now Jock Ewing wasn't as strong as Costner's character, but you got the weak son and the strong son. You got they're pretty much Dallas do-over, all up and down the line.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Even the cars, like the car that Beth drives and all of this type.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Thom, if I remember correctly, JR is Larry Hagman, right?
Yes, he was on the show.
He produced. I didn't know him and Carol O'Connor were tight like that, and he actually produced and directed some of the Heat of the Night shows.
He did.
He
there
did.
Were a couple of people that a lot of the actors who had been around always came back. There were two actors who had been around. They would come back and do the show. Larry Hagman, Tippi Hedren, famous actors like that. And then you had actors who were on their way up who were given an opportunity. And some of those actors, just pretty much all ended up doing other shows at some point.
Also, you had one cast member, and I didn't realize until after the show that he was on the Heat of the Night. Anthony, Sippy. Remember Sippy?
Yes.
I'm trying to think of his real name. Thom, you had him on the show, and it wasn't until after the show I'm like, that's Sippy from the Heat of the Night. Now,
okay.
I cannot think of his real name. He lives in Atlanta area, and
you had him on the show here.
Yeah, you had him on your show, and he was on the Heat of the Night. I'm thinking of his real name. His stage name was Sippy on the show, Anthony.
Well, it was like 2 months ago you had him on your show.
Mm-hmm. You didn't even realize that. But he played a lawyer at one time on the show.
Okay, I'll have to go back and look at our guest list and see who that was.
Yeah. He lives in Atlanta. And I tried to mention it in the comments. I say, Thom, you trained him as a lawyer. Because one minute he came back to visit his aunt or his sister or something like that, and they accused him of murder. But then later on another episode, he was a lawyer in the courtroom for Parker's father. Parker Williams' father was in trouble. He was a lawyer. But, a lot of them played several characters in the show.
Yeah, that's true.
And didn't realize that.
Interesting.
Okay, yeah, I don't know who that would have been.
I'm trying to think of his.
No, I can't remember his real name.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll have to get Barbara Lee on. She contacted me when she was going back to. She was in the First Girl episode, right?
First Girl. That would have been with the girl got shot.
That was her, I think. Wasn't that Barbara Lee?
No.
No. First girl was when Luann came on.
Luann came on because the other girl got killed.
Right. That episode came on what was it? Was it Monday? Yesterday? Or Friday? And I remember I just saw you shaking hands with her at the end.
Yeah.
That's when the famous dragon lady
Yeah, that
out.
was a
Your
whole
line.
all that. I thought that was her.
No, Barbara Lee. She was on when Carol O'Connor became sheriff
Hmm.
when they were bringing in Chief Forbes because
Right.
they did not renew
I used to
Gillespie's.
get a Christmas card from Chief Forbes. What's his name?
Talking about oh man, I'm thinking of Rocky right now. Apollo,
Yeah,
Creed. Oh man,
nice
I
man.
got it.
Carl
Carl
Weathers.
Weathers. Carl Weathers.
Weathers.
Carl
Nice,
Weathers. Yes.
nice man. Okay, we're gonna wrap up here in a minute. Any final comments from anybody?
I just want to say it's been a pleasure of watching y'all through the whole year. I watch you faithfully every Tuesday morning. I really enjoy this show Tuesday morning. Everybody know between 9 and 10. Don't bother me. You know, I hope my supervisor's not watching right now, but I put them on hold for the hour to watch Tuesday with Thom. It has really been a pleasure. I wish I would have caught you on the first episode, but I'm rocking with y'all from here to the end.
We appreciate it very much.
We do.
Thank you, Stanley.
And
And
thank you.
congratulations on your wedding, man.
I'm hoping to see y'all there. Invitations will be mailed out within Monday. I have your information, and I'm hoping that y'all will be able to make it. If you can't, I will have it live via Facebook because my brother Abram, who's in the Army, is overseas and won't be there. So for him, I'm gonna have a Facebook Live. So I'm hoping to see y'all there.
Okay. All right.
Invitations will be going out.
Anthony, thank you so much for starting the group, and thank you for tuning in with us and being a part of it. We appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. It was such a pleasure. And again, I'm a faithful watcher of Thom's Tuesdays and able to be a guest star on the show. And Barbara, you certainly did an awesome job last week. You and the ladies.
Thank you.
And Michael, it's always a pleasure watching you guys faithfully every Tuesday. And it's an awesome job what you guys do. And I look for the next 100 episodes with Thom.
Yes.
Tuesdays with Thom.
Well, we have one more show this year, and that's next week. Santa Claus will be with us.
Yeah.
And,
I'll make sure I have my singing voice ready. I'll make sure I have my singing voice ready.
Get all your requests ready for Santa.
Yes.
And he is a great singer. You're right.
Yes.
So we'll look forward to that. And then we're off the week between Christmas and New Year's, and then we'll be back in the new year. So
I will see you then.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. My closing commentary for today, or as I see it, we talked earlier about Brittany Griner being released and returned to the United States and the criticism that started no sooner than she was returned home. But what about Paul Whelan, a former U.S. Marine who was arrested in 2018 and imprisoned in 2018 on espionage charges? And Boomer Esiason, who is on an NFL talk show, NFL pregame show, or whatever it is. I doubt if he has any information, but he criticized the release. And sometimes when you don't have all the information, it's easy to be critical without the information. But sometimes you don't have all the information. It'd just be good to keep your mouth shut and let the people who are involved continue to do the work that they do. And that is how I see it on this December 13th in the year 2022. That's our show for today. We're going to thank the audience. We appreciate you. Certainly appreciate all the In the Heat of the Night people. Thank Michael and Barbara. Thank the In the Heat of the Night group, the official In the Heat of the Night group. And thank our sponsor, Best Girl Inc. Thank Emily Hedrick, the communicator, Sean Jones, the organizer and producer of Got a Minute. Remember to enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.